USA.
I'm Shannon.
And I'm Jay.
Today we're standing in front of the Pichi Richi Railway, about to head off to Corn in the Flinders Ranges.
Very excited to hop on board and check out all the scenic views along the way.
Toot toot!
The Pichi Richi Railway dates back to the 1870s when it was originally known as the Great Northern Railway. It later formed a part of the Central Australia Railway, commonly known as the Old GAN. This line was closed in 1956 and remained inactive for 17 years until the Pichi Richi Railway Preservation Society started its restoration works on the line. It is now the oldest remaining section of the track of the former narrow gauge GAN that is still in use. Passengers can enjoy the Heritage Railway journey, which stretches 39 kilometres, similar to what it would have been about 100 years ago. Today we are travelling on a special double-headed train service from Port Augusta to Quorn. This has attracted many train enthusiasts from all over Australia who are very eager to get on and experience the ride.
As you walk onto the train, you are immediately captivated by its unique look. The beautiful wooden interior of the train dates back to the 1920s and still preserves the original style and travel wardrobes, lamps, and even a travel kitchen for longer journeys. With the scenic views of untouched nature out the window and the quiet noise of the wheels in motion, you can really sit back and relax with an interesting novel. As we approach Woolshed Flat, the train stops for a photo stop where passengers are able to get off the train and watch it drive past into the wild outback. It then returns shortly after to pick everyone up and continue with the trip.
Woolshed Flat is a stop located about halfway through the journey, making it a perfect time to get off the train and stretch your legs and take a few photos and have a bite to eat. It's also a little bit of history dating back to the days when it was just a sheep station.
The historic woolshed behind me was built in 1856 and was used as a storage facility for all the surrounding properties. But back in the shearing days, well, it used to hold 40 shearers until the electric shearer came along, which brought that down to 5 to save time. But one good thing about the place behind me is it's got all the shearers' name engraved in the wall dating back to the 1800s.
The Woolshed Flat stop was not just for a rest and look around, it's also where two engines are connected onto one train for our special service, the double header. From this point on there will be not only one but two steam engines pulling us further into the Flinders Ranges. So while we're walking around exploring, the train drivers are working hard connecting another engine onto our train. This gives us a little time to catch up with David, who is the youngest steam locomotive driver in South Australia.
Now, thanks for making us feel welcome, David.
No problem.
Now, I love titles. Can you tell me your title here?
I'm the locomotive superintendent of the Pichi Richi Railway.
Whew, in a nutshell, what does that mean?
So I'm responsible for looking after all of the steam and diesel locomotives, all the rolling stock in our workshops to house them all.
Can you tell us a bit of history about the Pichi Richi Railway?
Well, the railway that we run on is actually part of the original narrow gauge GAN railway that went through from Port Augusta up to Central Australia, and they started construction work on that in the late 1800s. The Preservation Society was formed in 1973 with the intention of preserving this section of the original GAN railway and operating it as a heritage museum.
Now, David, one thing I know about you is that you're very, very young when you first got your licence. What did you need to do to get your locomotive licence?
So in order to become a locomotive fireman or driver here, we have a series of government examinations that we have to go through to get various licences for things. We've also got a fairly rigorous internal training program, so essentially we can take any new member off the street, train them up, and they can become steam loco drivers if they want to.
So as a child you always had a trade set and that was your passion from day one?
It started out with Thomas and the trains have just got bigger.
Did. Now, what was your very first train that you drove?
Oh, that's a good question. I was originally tied up with the Railway Museum down at Port Adelaide with the small railway down there. And then someone introduced me to the Pichi Richi Railway and I've been in love since.
And ever since then, so what age can you start volunteering?
Well, we have quite a lot of volunteers who actually come up with families, so we've got fairly young volunteers who are doing on-train work. The older people get, the more jobs become open to them. So most of our volunteers start coming onto the footplate at about 18.
So how many passengers does it normally carry from Port Augusta up to the Quon?
We've got the capacity to carry about 150 passengers in all of our train services, of which there are about 60 steam services every year.
And a beautiful scenic trip.
Too right. Well, I think we've got the best part of the line.
And do you see something new every time you come up here, I bet?
Yeah, I'm sure, well, apart from the changing season through the past, you always see something interesting and different from the loco cab, and I'm sure from the passenger cars as well.
So how often do you get to drive this bad boy?
Well, I'm normally up here a couple of times every month juggling other life commitments, but whenever I can get up here, I'm always up.
Now, David, you are the youngest driver in South Australia. How does that feel?
It's interesting. We quite often get comments from the passengers when they look up into the loco cab that I don't have an old grey beard, but...
and they think we're in safe hands is the first thing they think.
I think they might sometimes, but we always get them there safely.
Now, do you find it intimidating being around mature men?
No, well certainly the society has a great atmosphere, and certainly it's an atmosphere in which one can learn a lot of things, so certainly the older drivers have taught me well, and we work well together.
And they probably admire you for your young age.
Well, I'd hope so. A lot of them started out 40 years ago in the same place as I did, just a little bit older. So
your plans is to pass it on to the younger generation as well?
If we can keep it going, I'd love to do
beautiful. So.
As we get back onto the train and head further into the outback, we experience a range of changing landscapes. From beautiful cliff faces to deserted grasslands and patches of bushlands, they all come together to form a stunning scenery of the region. One of the landmarks that can be viewed from the train is Devil's Peak. Home to many walking trails around the area, Devil's Peak stands 670 metres above sea level. It offers spectacular sweeping views of the surrounding area, and you can even see as far as Port Augusta. As we arrive in Quon, we get a chance to speak to Ben, who was the train guard on our train.
Now Ben, you've been helping passengers get on and off the train all day and making sure that all their safety is in order. What other responsibilities do you have as being the train guard?
Well, we're basically in charge of the train. We are the boss. We have more power than what the driver does actually,
Really?
which is quite funny. But we have a lot of paperwork that we have to fill out. There's a lot of paperwork with railways and legal requirements that you have to meet, so we fill all that out. And then once the train is in motion, our job is to observe the train and make sure that all the carriages behave themselves and stay on the track.
So Ben, you are only 19 and already a train guard. How did you start out and what made you want to be a train guard?
Pichi Richi is very enthusiastic with their young members and try and get them involved as possible. So when I started at 15, I was on the train as a car captain, so giving passengers information as we went along and clipping their tickets. And then as I got old enough, I was able to start my training to become a guard, which took about 12 to 18 months.
So what can passengers expect while going on the Pichi Richi train?
Well, you leave Quorn and within 10 minutes you're out into the Pichi Richi Pass, which is some of the most spectacular views of the Flinders Ranges.
It's absolutely beautiful going on there today, I tell you what.
Magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then each carriage has its own car captain who gives you all the historical information and points out points of interest, so he'll look out for the kangaroos and point them out for you. And then on some of our trains we also offer the refreshments as well, so there's lovely pies and pasties as well. which is always good fun.
Well, thanks so much and good luck for the future there, Ben. And
No
hopefully
worries.
you can get up to driving the train sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you.
As all the passengers are off the train and it's about to head back, we quickly catch up with the driver, who even takes us inside the cabin to show us around.
I'm with Walter, the man who was guiding us all the way here, and I'll tell you what, you got us here safely. Now, you're in charge of the regulator part of the train. Can you tell me what that is?
Okay, that's virtually the accelerator. It's a large handle that opens a valve, allows steam from the boiler to be admitted to the cylinders, and thus, of course, powers us up the hill.
Now, one thing I noticed, you're not working up a sweat like the other guy, because I saw one guy heaving coal, putting it into the, what do they call it, the oven, the fireplace?
Yes, I use the firebox.
The firebox?
Yes, to fire up the boiler. Yes, it's a two-man crew. One man is driving the locomotive, that is working the regulator, working the brakes, and the other guy is responsible for the boiler, so he's the fireman.
So that one's passed the buck because you're working up a sweat, you've done your apprenticeship, now you pass that on, is that what happens?
Yes, it's
You
part
pull
of the
rank?
training. Well, you start as a cleaner,
Yeah.
and the cleaner does exactly what you think. He cleans the locomotive, and then you get qualified as a fireman, and then later on as a driver.
Now, Walter, what's with the passion of trains?
I'm not sure really. Got involved first because this was up in the Flinders Ranges, and it was a marvellous place to come camping, a place to take the kids, and the railway happened to be here, so I got involved with the railway.
So how many years have you been involved?
It's coming up to 40 years now.
40 years, do you get anything from them, a party or anything up here?
Oh no, it's one big party, let's say.
No worries, thanks for having a chat with us today and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Now, Shannon, what a great way to finish day one.
Tell you what, Jay, I had an awesome day today checking out the sights around Corn, and the Pichi Richi Railway was really cool as well.
Now, I'm a little bit puffed, but I've got enough energy for tomorrow.
If you would like to watch today's episode again, go to g'daysadaytravel.com.
Or check us out on Facebook.